Hello everyone. So I'm sure that some of you are aware by now of the passing of David Carroll, whose actual name was Michael Carroll, according to public voting records. He was born April 15th, 1965, and as he indicated, I have not been able to find a listing for a date of place of birth, but he resided in the Cleveland, Ohio area. There's also not an exact date yet, though I'm sure that information will come out on his exact time or cause of death. But a brother on his timeline, while I was actually in the middle of working on a video production that I started last night, confirmed that his sister, or one of his sisters, on Facebook confirmed his passing a few days ago. And it appears from what the family is posting on Facebook that he may have passed away sometime in mid-December. That's pure speculation at this point, but they started posting memorials, from what I can see, of him on or around December the 14th. As many of you brothers had stated on his timeline, there was an expression of concern because he had said himself that he felt like he was coming down with a cold and he had been coughing. I noticed in his last two videos, there's been all kinds of speculation as to what may have happened, and you're going to hear some of that coming out of me, because what I'm going to do is, at first I thought about deleting the audio that I made last night that was originally scheduled to be produced as addressing the David Carroll topic before I found out this morning about his passing. But what I'm going to do instead, I decided to keep the audio and play it as part of this video production tribute to Mr. Carroll, because I think it is important to understand, the significance of, how short and fragile and sudden life can be, okay? And how you can hear the worry in my voice. Again, this was an audio that I recorded just last night. Well, yesterday afternoon, yesterday evening. And you can hear, as I'm speaking in the audio, you can hear the concern in my voice about Mr. Carroll's well-being, especially towards the end. I think I stamp it with, none of us know what happened. He may come back, but I don't have a good feeling about this. Okay? Now, one thing I'm not going to do here is, I'm not going to pretend like we here in this sector, we don't cover death all the time, because we do. And I'm not going to pretend like when you hear of the passing of someone that you are either close to or that you are equated with, it doesn't hit different than, hearing of, someone in the news headlines, or on social media that died. Okay? But I feel like it is very important to, not just speak in memoriam about Brother Carroll, but also I think it is important to discuss the very real issues that plague not only Black America, but Black men in particular, and how we as a group of men have more stress on us per capita. We have the lowest health rates and the lowest life expectancy rates of anyone. Okay? Mr. Carroll was, from what I'm seeing, and as you will hear in the audio that I recorded last night before I learned of his passing, he was in his mid-50s. According to Ohio State voting records, he was 56 years old. This is more than 20 years below the average life expectancy for an American male. And what we all should be concerned with is not just necessarily about how Mr. Carroll died. I'm assuming that eventually that information will come out, but why this brother that, seemed wise beyond his years, who was what I called years ago a minority within the minority, died at such a young age. Okay? Because what you will notice with Black men is a pattern of this premature death. I mentioned it in the audio that I recorded last night, that if you even look at Black male celebrities, Michael Jackson, Luther Vandross, Barry White, these were men who had gobs of money. They were, I'm assuming, wealthy and famous. They could afford quality health care, and yet their lives were still cut well short of the average life expectancy, especially compared to other groups of men. And there are gobs of other Black men who died before the average life expectancy, before reaching the age of senior citizenship, where they can be classified as a senior citizen. Now, I'm sure the speculation is going to fly, all day, all week, all month, and for years to come, unless the family or somebody gets a hold of medical examiner records as to how this brother passed. Could have been anything. Could have been a really bad flu. Could have been heart attack, stroke, brain aneurysm. Yeah, COVID-19. Could have been anything. But that's not the point. The point is Black men, and this is the ones that aren't being slaughtered out here in the streets. We're talking about the ones who make it into older, mature ages. Okay? If a Black man makes it past that threshold, very, very, very dangerous time period in any black male's life, between his early teens and his early 30s, without being locked up or killed on the streets, usually by another black male. Okay? He goes into the mature age group where he faces a lot of serious health problems at an earlier age. Remember, just last year, we lost Chadwick Boseman. Boseman. Handsome young brother that was, making his mark in Hollywood. One of the leading actors. A lot of people remember him from Black Panther, but he played a lot of high quality roles. He portrayed James Brown. He portrayed Thurgood Marshall. He played a detective in that film 21 Bridges. That was a really good movie. He did a lot of high quality roles. He played Jackie Robinson. And yet this young brother was only 43 years old when he passed away from colon cancer. I remember I got my first colon cancer screening at 34 years old. And as I've gone into my mid to late 30s, I've started going to the hospital and the clinic more often, keeping my doctor's appointments, okay? Because I realize that while I have a clean bill of health now at 36 years of age, the amount of stress that is, commonly on me from different situations in real life, eventually that's going to come back to pay dividends, okay? And we don't know, Brother Carroll, he may not have, he may have been stress-free. Unlikely in the United States of America, with everything black men got to go through with, black women not respecting us, white men not respecting us, the system shitting on us, and then you got to go out there and you got to live life. But, I don't know if the brother was retired. I don't know if he had a job. I don't know any of that yet. I was going to say in my audio, but I didn't get to say it yesterday, that it seemed from his videos, because he talked about having an office at one point near some kids. It's pure speculation, but it seemed to me like he may have somehow been connected with the Cleveland public school system, or some type of educational institution. That's pure speculation, but he hinted at little things. I think most people knew that he was from the Cleveland area from the things that he said. But now this brother that gave us nearly a decade of wisdom, he's gone. And it's not so much that he's gone, but because we have mountains and mountains and mountains of his videos to go back and listen to his wisdom and his irrefutable facts. Something else I forgot to mention. As a result of Mr. Carroll's passing, on our fsavenger.com website, I'm so busy right now, but I'm going to take the time out to I'm going to be featuring all as much of his content as I can, and I'm going to be adding a lot more of his videos to the editor's pick. And so yeah, when you go to fsavenger.com, you're going to see a lot more of his content on the front page. So that's just a little snippet there. Okay, guys. But it's that he passed away, from what I'm seeing, he passed away before his 60th birthday. Okay? And I think that should concern every black man, no matter what side of the political or social spectrum you sit on, that black men, I spoke over the summer about how these females, not just these black females, these females in general, are dropping like flies. Most of them from, accidents and other nefarious circumstances. But, black men are dying at probably 5 times the rate of black women or anybody else. Okay? Again, if a black male even makes it out of the womb of a black woman, that is a big one. Okay? Because you got these heifers now on social media digging back up that demonic shit that Brooklyn Blue was talking about aborting black male babies. If I have somebody in my family who aborted a little boy that while the fetus was in her womb, okay, back in the back many moons ago. So if a black male even makes it out of the womb, then he's likely going to be raised by a single mother in a very crappy environment with no strong authority figure or positive role model. Okay? If he makes it through that, then he has to survive being a teenager, going to high school. He has to survive, in his 20s, whether he avoids the street life or not, it can still, get him. Street life can still get him, whether he's in the streets or not. Okay? If a black male manages to make it, to my age, for instance, his mid-30s, then he has to think about, well, my health. Is my health good? Is the stress that's coming on me from, baby mama drama, from my job, from, racial profiling by the police, from other stupid ass niggas? That's a really big one. Stupid ass niggas. That's one of the things that always intrigued me. How, as much as black men have to go through with, it's not black women that are the black man's biggest enemy. It's as much hell as they give us. The biggest enemy that a black man will have, online or off, is another black man. We are ready to go to war with each other. We're ready to kill each other, try to destroy each other's reputation. We're ready to do that, all that shit to each other at the blink of an eye. Yet we will let our real adversaries and enemies just creep by, stab us, or even shoot us in the back. And most of the time we don't do anything about it. But when it comes to another black male, with everything that a black man has to go through, the one that he has to look out for the most is another nigga that look just like him. Now, I'm sure over the days, weeks, months, years, many things will be said about this brother who chose to share his perspective, his view of the world with us. And a lot of things that this brilliant brother told us we already knew as black men. You know, he just kind of helped emphasize and reinforce the things that we needed to understand about life and being a black man in America. But I think the biggest thing that we should learn from David Carroll is that we, as free thinking, intellectual black men, we don't have time for bullshit. We don't have time to involve ourselves with people who are in situations that are disagreeable, confrontational, dramatic, problematic, that bring that negative energy. This is an absolute requirement of my Marlboro Man mindset theory. Okay? I mentally and oftentimes physically isolate myself from the rest of society and most people, not to make a statement like these MGTOW dudes do, but to understand that human beings at their core are animals. And because human beings at their core being animals, this means that human beings by nature are competitive. They're violent. They can be feral. There's no human being or group of human beings or scenarios where you're in it with human beings that you can encounter where eventually some type of confrontation or conflict is not going to come into play. Because once again, as I told you guys years and years ago, the only thing that separates us from other animals is the complexity of our brains. Without the complexity of those human computers that we have in our skulls, there's some of which we use, some of us use it more than others. Without that, we're nothing more than animals running around in the wild. Okay? And if you ever seen National Geographic or even here on YouTube, okay, most animals have a predator versus prey mindset. Okay? And unfortunately, we as human beings, even though we have, because of the complexity of our brain, we have intelligence. You have too many human beings that choose verbally, physically, and oftentimes mentally to resort to the feral end of their psyche to resolve or escalate problems, tensions, situations. Okay? You think that with all the technological advancements over the decades, over the centuries that mankind has made, building cities with huge skyscrapers and automobiles that can go over 200 miles per hour, he still has not learned how to conflict resolve and act consistently civil. And so, because I understand this and I have accepted this for what it is, I understand why, for example, most relationships, even between opposite genders, just don't work out. That till death do us part marriage thing is a myth. It's simply something that was created by mankind, like time and distance, for him to prove to himself that he has control over something that he has no control of. people are going to act in their best interest, or people are going to act in ways that they think is in their best interest. And most people don't care who they negatively affect in the process. Okay? This is why there will always be conflict, including between the opposite genders. And this isn't just true with black men and black women. So, as you will hear me in a few more videos that I have coming down the pipe, you will hear me say that this is why I say that we as black men, individual black men, we have a choice to make. Okay? And this is the basis for my hashtag Marlboro Man mindset. Do you want to be in the company of another human being so bad that you are willing to surrender your sanity, your peace of mind, and possibly even your health and life? Is it worth it? Because what you will notice with most of these brothers that are being killed out here on these streets is that they're not alone. They're around other people, especially other black men and these ratchet black females. They were raised around these type of people. But even when a black man gets well into older age, like Brother Carroll, we think that, we get to a point where we can relax, and there's still shit and shitheads that are on our trail stressing us the fuck out. So if we don't learn anything from this, it's that life is too short and too unpredictable to play games with or deal with situations and individuals that don't have your best interest at heart. And so the best thing, the absolute best thing that you can do, and I'm a work in progress, is to learn how to establish a quality relationship with the only person in this world that you can 100% count on, and that will be with you till the very end. And that is yourself. Now, there are a few other things that I should bring up. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not good at doing obituaries or memoriams. Usually I'm yelling into the mic, but I should have brung this up before. David Carroll, whose real name appears to be Michael Carroll, age 56. I myself am not very big into sports, but Mr. Carroll, he made no qualms about the fact that he was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. He was a cigar aficionado. This brother could tell you everything and anything about smoking cigars, types of cigars. He was quite fanatical about that. From some of the sporting attire that he wore, it appears that he was a USC fan. For those of you who know anything about NCAA tournament college football, he was a huge football fan overall. And I believe as far as collegiate basketball, I believe he mentioned Duke University, which over the decades has had one of the best basketball teams in the country. Uh, I believe they're like considered basketball royalty, up there with Kentucky and University of North Carolina and all of that. You know, he spoke a lot about how, you know, well, you know what? I'm not going to say that out of respect for him, but just know, no matter what Brother Carroll says, we all, all of us brothers, we talk a lot of shit. But he loved his family very much, and they loved him. As you can see in this photo, they cared about him very much. That's one of the things you're going to hear me say in the pre-audio that I made last night, where I was kind of leading up to, it's not sounding good. I said, well, that the only downside to having a hashtag Marlboro Man mindset like myself or Mr. Carroll is that if something happens to you inside your living space, like you drop from a heart attack or stroke or something, or you become otherwise incapacitated. And again, we don't know what happened to Brother Carroll, but nobody's gonna hear your screams. Nobody's gonna even know you're down, especially if you isolate yourself from your family. But just know, and in the midst of my um, sorrow of hearing what happened to the brother, I was very pleased to see his family put this picture up, to know that David Carroll was he was loved and he was liked very much by his family. And that's important. That's important because we as we as black men, you know, we as black people, period, we don't have a lot of people that give a fuck about us. So no matter what we say, not only family but a loving family, that's important. It can be important. It can be helpful to your health. It's good to know that there were people who cared. It was good to know that there were people who cared about Mr. Carroll. Thanks so much for listening, guys. And now we're going to start the second part of the video. What's going on, guys? So this video premiere is a promotional video, actually, for a piece of content that I produced all the way back last summer. Now, the original plan was to release this video, the commentary, on FS Avenger, first for exclusive Patreon members, in a batch that I made, which included about 20 videos. But given the length of time and so much shit getting in the way and climbing Mount Dusty, dragging on to God knows when, and also given its somewhat similarity to the possible similarity to the issue that I am about to, very serious issue that I'm about to discuss with you guys, I decided to release it now. So what's going to happen is I'm going to speak on an issue that, excuse me, I've been looking into and that a lot of you brothers have been asking about. And then after I give commentary here on YouTube, I'm going to explain how this connects to the other topic at hand that I'm going to be promoting. And then I'm going to give you a link to in the description box, as well as the pinned post where you can go and watch the other topic that I give commentary on. Now, it's very loosely related. It actually, I shouldn't say that. It may not be related at all. Okay? But as I speak on this matter, I think it's going to become more apparent to you brothers how this may, emphasize may, be connected. Okay? So what I'm talking about, as many of you well know, is that Mr. David Michael Carroll, better known as simply David Carroll, I assume that that's a stage name. I don't think that's his real name. And the only reason I put Michael in the middle of it is because he has an email, 5723michael@gmail.com, I believe. Mr. David Carroll, who frequently he uploads videos to his main YouTube channel, promoting what he calls his rabbit hole series at least once a week. I think he does it usually on Saturdays. He has not produced any content for the last 4 weeks, and by the time you hear this video, it will have been over a month. Now, of course, we know that that would not be a big deal. Nobody would be worried about it if he was one of those content creators who released content sporadically. You know, there are a lot of people like that, not only in the black sector of YouTube. I've done it myself for different reasons, you know, where the person may just not have time to produce content. They may just be one of those people who comes and goes when they want. But then you have people who are very consistent with content and they follow a pattern. Okay, this is more emphasized when you consider the fact that Mr. self-described mental juggernaut, as he called himself, he says himself that repetition is the mother of skill. Now, I have somewhat disagreed with him on this because I have said that I believe that repeating yourself to stupid motherfuckers is just like talking to a wall. He even said that himself in one of his videos. He entitled it many years ago, "Talking to Black Men is like talking to brick walls," which to some extent I do agree. Okay, but he he invented the term repetition is the mother of skill. Well, I don't know if he invented it, but he uses it a lot. Okay? He likes repeating himself. He talks about the same handful of topics every single month. Every single week. Okay? And that's the way he does his content. Okay? I've heard many people say, and I'm talking about people that have been watching him all the way back before I started watching him, which was in 2013, 2014. I believe he's been on YouTube since 2011, 2012. But I've seen people in comment sections all over, mainly on his videos, but in other places too, to say that they have not seen him take this long of a hiatus in the entire time that he's been on the internet, or that he's been on social media with his rabbit hole series and what he calls his irrefutable facts and evidence and all of that. Okay, so now a lot of people, as a result of that, it's what it basically equates to. It's like a person not showing up for work. Now, you have people who don't show up for work, that nobody's concerned about, except, of course, their bosses and co-workers, because, when they don't show up, that increases the workload, right? But, these are jobs that are dead-end jobs. It could be a new hire, person only been there for a few months, or been there for a little while, but they frequently take days off, or they're on their way to getting fired anyway. Nobody thinks anything about that. But we've all heard of stories of people who didn't show up for work, and their bosses or their co-workers called their family members or even called the police to go to their place of residence and other places to look for them. Okay? There have been, I think only blood family can file a missing persons report, but there have been situations for both males and females where a person didn't show up for work, and the boss, the supervisor, would contact police or contact the family and let them know so-and-so didn't show up for work, something's wrong. Now, usually in those type of cases where it's so unusual for a person not to show up to a job or a business or whatever, that their co-workers and even their bosses become concerned. Usually this is a very reliable human being, a very reliable person who's been on the job for years, possibly even decades. They're well liked, they're well known, okay? They're very consistent. They don't miss a lot of days at work. They're never late. They're a very reliable individual. And the boss is checking on them out of genuine concern. Not just, I can't believe this nigga didn't show up. I can't believe this bitch didn't show up for work. I'm gonna fire this motherfucker. Not just that, but out of genuine concern. Because you do have people, I have them in my family, that are very loyal and very dedicated to their jobs or their businesses, where they would not miss a day at work, especially not without calling, unless something was seriously wrong with them. Okay? So I kind of relate this to the concern that a lot of people are having about Mr. David Carroll. Okay? In the past few weeks, I said, when the first week went by and he didn't release a rabbit hole on our FS Avenger website, and he didn't release a new video on YouTube, there was some level of concern for people. Then the second week went by, nothing. And so after the second week, people were leaving comments on his last video And, they were really, really concerned about this brother. And I just kind of hung back, did what these niggas call, just hanging in the clouds, and was just looking. Didn't really say nothing. And I said, well, something isn't quite right here, but I'm going to wait. Because I know, man, social media can wear on you like a nagging woman. Okay? It can wear on you like life. Sometimes you just need a break. Okay? So I said, well, I'm going to hang back. I'm going to hang back and just, see what happens. I'm going to give it 4 weeks. What equates to almost a month, or about a month, before I say anything about it. So that's what I did. Then a third week went by. I started checking his Twitter. Saw he obviously hadn't uploaded nothing the third week Saturday on YouTube. No new rabbit holes, no nothing. Now, upon the third week, I said, okay, well, I mean, me and David Carroll have never really been tight like that behind the scenes. But I said, I better start checking with some people that I know are tight with him like that behind the scenes. We had talked briefly back in 2018, and then we, just kind of stopped talking because of a little misunderstanding. But I still, endorsed his content because even though he repeated himself a million times, he says a lot of true shit. I agree with about 95% of what he says. Obviously there have been some contradictions there that I've brought up about, him, and I think Kid Organic have brought up about him being friends with Obsidian. And, we're not going to get into all of that right now, but the fact is 95% of what he says is true, is factual, and, he sounds like a narrator, narrating a documentary. So he's very easy to listen to. So I said, well, he didn't show up for work. Now, he can do what he want to do, but he, people are creatures of habit. And he confirmed this himself when he says that what his belief, which is that repetition is the mother of skill. So I said, well, I better start doing some investigating. Okay. Well, I don't have to, it's not like we're blood family or no shit. But I said, well, there are a couple of people asking me. Some people have been emailing me. People in my comment walls asking me, on community posts asking me. I go to his last video, they're asking me. So I said, okay, well, the brothers really care. I have endorsed him a lot in the past. I don't endorse him as much as I used to, but I said, okay, well, maybe I'll do some investigating, look around, see what I can find out. So the first person that I go to is Brother Kwesi, the brother of logic and common sense, one of the coolest brothers on the internet. I've done some live streams with him. I think I'm one of only a few people that Kwesi has ever really done live streams on. He can correct me if I'm wrong, but real cool brother. I email him because I have his email. Now, this is the one thing that I know about David Carroll. He likes Kwesi as a friend. They're like buddy on virtually on the internet. He's mentioned that Kwesi, like half the niggas in this world he don't like, the other half he don't trust, right? And Kwesi is like, he keeps his circle of friends very small, and Kwesi is like the one friend or one of the few people, I guess now, beside Obsidian that he hangs with on the internet. He claims that, he has other brothers, other black men that he associates himself with in his free life in the real world. That like are into cigars and stuff at cigar shops in and around where he lives. But online, Kwesi, he's brought up the brother of logic and common sense several times. He tells us all the time about how he tosses work, you know, between him and Equazi. They share videos with each other. They're buddy tight. They're cool. So I said, well, let's say if David Carroll's saying, man, fuck all this shit, I'm gonna take a break, and you know, I'm tired of repeating myself to these motherfuckers. And some people were joking, well, maybe this nigga just got tired of repeating himself. Maybe he just got tired of repeating himself. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. So, okay. So I said, even if that is the case, unlikely, but even if that is the case, he's going to respond to Equazi. Okay? Unless him and Equazi have had a falling out, and brother Equazi did not indicate to me that there was any indication of that. To my knowledge, they're still, buddy. They're still cool. So I asked brother Equazi, I said, via email, I said, hey, brother, quite a few brothers are showing some concern about David Carroll, and they've been asking me about him. Do you think in your free time, I don't want to bother you, I know you're a very busy man, especially in that crazy ass pro-COVID scamdemic fucking vaccine mandate bullshit ass state that you live in. I said, I know you're a very busy brother, you're a man in demand and all of that, but in your free time, could you possibly call David Carroll, because I know y'all have each other's phone numbers, and just check up on him, so maybe, everybody can know that at least he's okay. So the brother logic and common sense, he told me, yeah, well, he didn't do that. No, what happened was a few hours later, he called me back. He emailed me back the same day, hours after I said that. And he said that he called David Carroll twice, and both phone calls went straight to voicemail. And he also texted David Carroll, and he hadn't received a response as of the time he was emailing me. So I said, okay. I responded. I told him, okay, well, yeah, I hope he's okay. I don't remember exactly what I said in response, but I decided, okay, well, I'm gonna hang back. I say, that's weird. That don't sound good, because David Carroll is quick. It's not like I'm revealing any secret that nobody knows. I mean, he constantly talks about how, he, shares stuff with Equazi, and sometimes they've even done video collaborations together. So they're real cool. So he likes Equazi as a friend. So I know he's going to respond to Equazi. And so, I say, okay, well, I'm going to hang back, and I'm just going to wait a week, and I'm going to see what happens. So week number 4 comes up, and I had a feeling that it was going to be the same thing, which it was. No videos from David Carroll, no activity on his Twitter, no rabbit hole dropped. And so then I emailed Equazi again, and I asked him, and keep in mind, this is like almost a week later. I say, Equazi, hey brother, have you heard anything? Has he called you back? Has he texted you back? And he said, no, I haven't heard anything yet. This is when, I can't say I started to think something was wrong. I really felt that something was wrong the first week. Okay, I felt something was wrong the first week. Because, I'm usually not, I'm not going to go there yet, but I'm usually not too far off the mark when I go to pontificating and getting gut instincts and feelings about certain things. But I felt something was wrong the first week. So when Equazi told me that he hadn't heard anything a week after I originally asked him, and a week after he said he called the brother and texted him, and his phone call went straight to voicemail. This is a week later. I'm checking back to see if there's any updates. Did he call back? Did he leave a voicemail? Did he text you back? Nothing. That's when I started to feel like, yeah, this is more than just him taking a break. Something is wrong. Because again, human beings are like machines. They program things. There are certain things that people do sporadically, like order takeout food, and then there are other things that people do that just become muscle memory. Okay? I'm not saying that him communicating with a Quasi is muscle memory. What I am saying is it's highly unlikely that, based on what David Carroll has said, okay, and based on how much these two brothers endorse each other, it's highly unlikely that he would not respond to a Quasi via text, phone call, or voicemail for a week. And that his phone would go to voicemail not once, but twice. So then I'm saying, okay, well, that's not good. That's interesting. So, okay, well, maybe we should look into this a little further, and then another part of me is saying, well, it's none of your business. I mean, like you say, you haven't talked to him behind the scenes in years. Maybe he just don't want to be bothered. That's possible. He talks about how he gets in his moods all the time. That's possible, and so maybe you shouldn't go snooping around because, he has kind of given indications of, where he lives, possibly where he works, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. But I said, maybe you should just leave it alone. So I have a couple of moves that I can make. I'm not really going to share what they are, but, it's not, it's not hard to really find certain things out. And, I don't want to be, again, I'm not one of these beta male stalking ass niggas that he talks about. I have too much going on in my personal life, trust and believe, to be worried about any nigga on the internet. Okay? Trust them unless they fuck with me. Okay? As you're going to find out in Climbing Mount Dusty. That's a different story. Okay? I got all the time in the world to fuck a motherfucker like that up. But, outside of that, man, like, but I'm figuring, this brother, he's spoken a lot of truth. We have similar thoughts and mindsets. We have similar lifestyles. A lot of my people who support my content are worried about him, and, understandably so. So, I put a pause on, going further into investigation. But what I will say is that the mystery deepened even further, and it started to give me bad feelings even further when I did a search of David Carroll's name, and I came across this video, or two videos actually, that was promoting this interview that the Village Arsonist, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this brother, but he also watches and supports my content. I believe he's made donations before in the past, and he seems to be a good brother. I don't know him that well, but I know he's an avid supporter of mine, which I appreciate. He was promoting a interview that was supposed to take place, that is supposed to take place with him and David Carroll in January of next year. So I said, oh, okay, well, then that settles it. Maybe David Carroll has a big announcement, good or bad, that he wants to make, and, he just decided that, he's going to take some rest, and he's going to come out a little later, take a couple of weeks off and come out later and just, make his announcement or give an interview. Maybe he's switching up the way he does things. Maybe he gave up, realizing that repeating himself to these stupid ass black niggas ain't working. So maybe he's switching up, his tactics. But then I went to that promotional video promoting the interview, the promotional video that was promoting the interview that's supposed to happen between
Village Arsonist and David Carroll, and I started asking him, how did you? Because I was stunned. Like, dude ain't even respond to a crazy, but he's telling you behind the scenes he gonna do an interview, and I wasn't jealous. I was just, I'm curious. I'm like, okay, well, this settles it. But could you give me some details? So then the brother said, well, he'll email me, the Village Arsonist. And I was lucky enough that he was one of my supporters. He emailed me and he shared some information with me that, again, to me only deepened the mystery, but it also gave me an even worse feeling in my gut. So, what he told me was that, what I found out from the email that I had with Village Arsonist, and I don't know if the brother wants me to share that email, so I'm not going to share the email. I only share a small portion of it, but I'm not going to share what was said. I'm just going to share a part of it that's going to show a certain date and time and David Carroll's email handle. But he told me, or he indicated that, him and David Carroll had been in talks for a couple of months to do an interview. It was originally slated, I think, for sometime in November. Then it got pushed back to December. And now it's in January. So I said, I looked at it. I looked at a message that he forwarded of the communication that he had between him and Mr. Carroll. He first approached Mr. Carroll about the interview. And I'm not going to give the details because I don't know if he wants me to do that. But he first approached Mr. Carroll about doing an interview back in October. And then they were talking up until late November. Now, this is what's strange, because we now know that the last video that David Carroll released was November 20th, 2021. And the last communication where David Carroll, through his email 5723Michael, which is, I'm not sharing any private information, because he tells people that that's the email to email him if you want his rabbit hole production. 5723Michael, the last response from David Carroll, or assumably what was David Carroll, was on November 21st, 2021 at 5:09 a.m. Okay? That was over a month ago. And it was one day, not quite one day after his last video release on YouTube. As you know, he did not release his Rabbit Hole series for that promotional video that he released the day and week of November 20th, 2021. So we know that he was at least alive. We don't know if he was well, because a lot of people had brought up how he had been coughing. He'd actually been coughing in his last two videos. Not just the one November 20th, but the one the week before that as well. He sounded like he was coming down with something. And that's actually not the first time that he had sounded sick in a video, but it had been some years. Okay? He was at least, here, alive, breathing, and conscious as of 5:09 a.m. November 21st, 2021. We know that. Okay? What we don't know, unless we find out further information, and I'm toying with, whether or not I'm gonna, launch a further investigation, just out of, curiosity and concern for the brother. What we don't know is what happened, what has happened, or if anything has happened between November 21st at 5:09 a.m. and today, when you're listening to my voice in this video. Okay? That's the part, that's the unknown, that's the mystery. That's what we don't know. Okay? What we do know There's a couple of things that we do know. There's a couple of things that I know. I'll put it like that. What I know is that David Carroll, like myself, he has a huge ego. Okay? He doesn't care who agrees with him or who disagrees with him. Okay? He's very consistent. I, for one, do not see him just, he said some other people were joking about, if you listen to David Carroll enough, this will be significant. Some people were talking about how, did one of those black divestors that they finally make a Christmas video of them, kissing a white man underneath the mistletoe. And, if you listen to David Carroll, he made the challenge to the divestment group, including Crystal and Karen, that if one of the black females to be on YouTube talking about they're a divested black woman and teaching black women to be divested, if just one of them makes a video with a white boyfriend or a white husband sucking on eggnog, or underneath a mistletoe or Christmas tree opening presents, and puts it on YouTube, he'll shut both of his channels down and he'll leave. We'll never hear from him again. Well, there's a couple of problems with that. Number one, David Carroll is too egotistical. I'm not going to say arrogant or narcissistic because I support him, but he is too egotistical to do that. It don't matter if all of them bitches come out with white boyfriends doing that shit. He is not going to shut those channels down. Mark my words. It's not happening. He's just talking shit. We all do it. We know that. We know. It's kind of like back in 2016. I don't know how many of y'all recall where he was calling himself the political juggernaut and talking about, how smart he was, that, and he knew that, Donald Trump didn't have a snowball's chance in hell of beating Hillary, and he blamed black folks, and then Trump won. And that was the only other time that I saw him disappear for as long as he has now. I think he was gone for like 2 weeks before he came back with a video blaming black men for Donald Trump winning. But he took it on the chin, and you could tell he didn't like it, but he admitted that he was wrong. Okay, but he's too egotistical to just leave because he lost a challenge. That's just not happening. I'm sorry. Okay, I like his content, I do, but that's just not happening. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's a fact that's not happening. Okay, so I don't think it's that. Okay, even if he went on a excessively long vacation, I mean, he's still gonna have his phone and other digital equipment with him that he can connect to the internet. Okay, when a person invests as much time and effort into something as we do here as content creators, it's unlikely that you're just going to willingly walk away from that. Okay, you got to understand that. Okay, a good example of this, when Kobe Bryant retired, okay, and he died in that helicopter crash with his daughter and those 7 other people, where were they headed? He was headed to a girls' league basketball game to coach his daughter's girls' basketball team. Okay? Basketball was Kobe's life. So it's only natural that if he was going to die in a tragic accident, he was going to likely die in an accident headed to or away from some place that had to do with basketball. Same thing with Paul Walker. Yeah, he did other movies, but the Fast and the Furious franchise, that is what elevated his career. That was his acting career. I mean, Paul Walker never intrigued me. He never, impressed me as a actor that had unusually good acting talent. And don't get me wrong, there are some very high quality, high level actors out there. He was not a Shakespearean type actor. In my opinion, he couldn't really act that well. But, he was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white boy that got picked. He got cast for that part, and it really worked out for him. Okay? And after doing so many of those movies, he kind of got into that whole, race car, high performance sports car scene. And where did he die? He died in, I think, Southern California in a high performance, I believe it was Porsche that wrapped around a fucking tree and caught fire with his friend Roger Rodas. He died in the very type of vehicle that he does movies about. Okay? It again, creatures of habit. Okay? My point is, we don't know what's going on with David Carroll. We don't know what happened to David Carroll. We don't know, maybe he will come back. We don't know. What I do know is that, like all of us, he's human. He's a creature of habit. He's not just going to walk away from something, okay, unless he has good reason. Now, that good reason could be a reason. Like, y'all remember when Crystal Carrison, that brief break, she took like a month or two off of YouTube, and I think she announced it beforehand. Some people were giving indications that maybe that was a couple of years before her divorce, before she confirmed her divorce, because everybody knew that she had been separated from her husband for years. But people were, I think even David Carroll mentioned that, she probably was having problems in her marriage related to her social media, and that's why she took that long ass break, right? She didn't just walk away because she needed a break. No, her pink girl swirls or whatever that bullshit pink package, whatever she's calling herself now, the girl who swirls, that's a major part of her life. Okay, content creation, especially for people who are making a living off of it, like Kevin Samuels or Paris Milan. I mean, it becomes part of your life, like your kids become part of your life. Okay, your brain writes that program. Okay, even if you decide to hang it up at some point, you're not going to do it just all of a sudden. Well, most people aren't going to do it all of a sudden. Okay, there are going to be indicators there that you're leaving. You may announce it. You may come back several times. Okay, a lot of times we do stuff that we say we'll never do again, like me putting main content on YouTube. Well, that was really out of necessity more than anything else. Okay, but if this is your hobby, if this is something that you like doing, and obviously this is something that David Carroll likes doing, you're not just going to walk away from it. Okay? So this is the reason why, this is the cause for concern that a lot of people are having when it comes to this gentleman, that he just all of a sudden disappeared. And you can see it in the comments. A lot of people are saying the same thing that I'm saying before I said it. He just suddenly just disappeared. He just stopped uploading content. He's not active on his Twitter. He's not active on anything. He's just gone. Now, again, he could come back. We're not there with him. We don't have access to NSA satellites. We don't know where he lives. We can't, and we wouldn't want to, eavesdrop on everything he's doing. It's really none of anybody's business. If he is, just decided to step away, what we're saying is it's highly unlikely that he just decided, that he just woke up one day and said, you know what, I'm done with this YouTube shit. I'm going to do something else. That's unlikely. It's highly unlikely. In the way that it was done, it's highly unlikely. Okay? And I think that was even further hammered home by the fact that he was scheduled to do an interview, one of the rare interviews that he's ever done, with this brother, village arsonist. And that his last known communication was November 21st, 2021. Okay? A day after his last video. Okay? He released that video November 20th. I don't know when he produced it. Oftentimes as content creators, we produce content days, weeks, months, sometimes even years before we actually release it to the public. But I'm assuming that it was recent because he often talks about, recent subject matters. Okay. But hours after he released that content, he, about 5:09 a.m. in the morning, assumably after he woke up sometime, I don't know what his sleep schedule is like, he responded to this brother and told him that the interview was still on. Nobody has heard from him since. That was more than a month ago. So now the question becomes, where is David Carroll? He came out with that series, Where's Waldo? Where's David Carroll? Is David Carroll okay? I hate to go there, but is David Carroll alive? Nobody knows. Celebrities do that shit all the time. They go missing, they disappear, drop off the face of the earth, and then they reappear. It happens. Children go missing. Sometimes nefarious things happen to them. Other times, they just ran away from home. But I'm going to tell you guys, to be honest with you, just my opinion, and, I could be proven wrong. Of course, I'm not hoping this. I'm hoping for the best, like everybody else that supports his everybody else that watches his content or supports his content. I'll be honest. I personally don't have a good feeling about this. And, I have anxiety disorder, and I'm a naturally pessimistic person anyway. So it could just be that. But it's not just the fact that he just dropped off the face of the World Wide Web Earth, okay, without, a clue as to what the fuck happened. As of November 21st at 5:09 a.m. There are a couple of things that are cause for concern with me. Okay. Number one, we have to look at the black man himself in general. Okay. The one thing we know about black men is that due to the increased stress level of being a black man, we have one of the, if not the lowest, life expectancy rate in our society. Okay? I believe Luther Vandross, Michael Jackson, Barry White, a lot of, one of the members of Earth, Wind, and Fire, a lot of black men die of natural causes, not only early, but well before the average life expectancy of other men. I think for black men, I haven't looked it up, but I think the average life expectancy is like 71, 72 years old. And for white men, it's like 76, 77 or something like that. I don't know. Okay? I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying, starting off, looking at the black man himself. Okay? We go through and we deal with a lot of shit. Okay? And a lot of us are not as health conscious, mainly because of our ego and our bad habits. Okay? We're not as health conscious as we need to be. Now, if you look at David Carroll, the few pictures that are out there of him, and you listen to him, okay, you can see that, like most people, especially most black people, he is probably, I don't want to talk about him in the past tense, he is probably not the most health conscious person in the world. This is not a stab at him, because, I'm not the most health conscious person in the world. Okay? But this is just helping you understand where I'm coming from with my opinion. Okay? This is a picture that he took from in front of Trump Tower. It's on his Twitter page. And while I wouldn't classify him as obese necessarily, you can see somewhat that he's, out of shape. I think he took another picture a few years ago where he was signing an autograph or something of some monk or something like that. It was really weird. But you could see that he does have some problems with being overweight. And we know that overweight and obesity are huge issues here in the United States. Furthermore, he has spoken himself, and I think back when he was showing his face, you could see his teeth, and you could see that they were stained. I know he says he doesn't drink alcohol, but I think I read somewhere that cigarette smoke can stain your teeth. Granted, he doesn't smoke cigarettes. He smokes cigars, but I'm assuming it's the same thing. I don't know much about smoking. Somebody can school me on cigar smoke, but I think it stains your teeth. He has said in his videos that his doctor is on his butt all the time about giving up cigars. He said that. I didn't say that. He said that. Okay? And he says that, well, he's not giving up his cigars. That's his vice, and everybody has to have a vice. You know, he has to get his fix. He loves cigars. He doesn't smoke the natural leaf cigars, which I assume, based on their title, though I'm not a cigar expert, I assume that if they're natural leaf, they're probably healthier and safer than, the other cigars that he prefers to smoke. But he talks about how his doctor tells him that he needs to give up the sticks, but he's not giving up the sticks. You put a naked woman in a bed 10 times out of 10, he's taking the sticks, yada, yada, yada. Okay? He talks about this all the time. And so if his doctor is getting on his case about cigars, then his doctor is probably somewhat concerned about his health and his safety. Okay? I know that I have read that any type of smoking increases your risk for certain ailments, including cardiovascular disease, stroke, high blood pressure, the works. Okay? We know that. Cigarette smoke is usually what they're referring to. I've heard that cigar smoking is safer than cigarette smoking. I haven't really researched that much into it, but that's what I've heard. Okay? I don't know for sure. That's what I've heard, but that doesn't mean that cigar smoke does not have, come with significant risks as well. Okay? I think he also talked about how his doctor told him that he needs to exercise and that he tries to go out, in a lot of his videos, in a lot of his more recent videos, he has been doing videos outdoors where he's out in a park that he likes. And I think one video so many years ago, he was on a bicycle, and I think he talked about how he would jog sometimes. Okay? But it didn't sound like he was particularly interested in really doing a lot of strenuous exercise. Me, myself, personally, as of a year ago, I exercise 3 times a day now. And the reason why is because I notice there's certain things that have changed about my body just over the course of the last 3 years that I don't like. And I understand that while they're not in any way life-threatening, as I get older, there are going to be more things that are going to happen to my body as I get older that I don't like. So I started exercising 3 times a day, and quite frankly, that's not enough. I need to do more. Okay? But, I think he was getting a lot more fresh air, but, there's no way of knowing, but somehow he just doesn't impress me as the type of person that did a lot of exercise. Okay? Again, we know he liked to smoke cigars. He said his doctor warned him about giving up cigars. We know that he's a bit overweight. I would not classify him as obese. I think that's a different category. Maybe I'm wrong. but he did have some problem with being overweight. Okay, don't know what else was going on, but it's interesting to also mention this. Okay, I had a family member that retired from their job that they had worked for 30 plus years back in 2019. And they were a black male that had a huge ego, and every time their wife would suggest to them to, go to their doctor, go to a doctor's appointment and get a physical, they refused to do it. Oh, I'm fine, ain't nothing wrong with me, leave me alone. Black men as a whole, and I've spoken about this, and I've, had to learn how to manage this myself. I think it's just because of, us always being on the lower totem pole of things. We have a lot of false pride, okay? And that false pride often gets us in trouble in a myriad of different ways. Whether that's confrontations with the police, confrontations on the streets, our health, our personal health, whatever. But this male relative of mine, when he retired, he decided to go get some dental work, right? After years and years of refusing to go to a doctor's appointment. And at the dentist, I didn't notice, but the dentist, they do a basic medical checkup of a person before they put them under to do orthodontist surgery. Well, one of the things the dentist does is check the blood pressure of the patient that they're about to operate on. And this male relative of mine, his blood pressure, unbeknownst to him, was like 200 over something. Now, for those of you who don't know about blood pressure, the normal blood pressure is 120 or below. 150 is considered hypertension, and 160 over something is considered dangerously high. This male relative of mine had a blood pressure of 200 over something. He was getting ready to explode with a heart attack, cardiac arrest, or stroke, and didn't even know it. His days were fucking numbered. So he had to go to blood. The dentist said, your blood pressure is so high, I can't even do this. I can't do this work on you. You got to go get help right away. And so he went on blood pressure medication. Had he not retired when he did, who knows? He might be dead. So my point is, a lot of the times, not just black men, but people in general, they have underlying health conditions. And from what I hear, a lot of the more dangerous conditions, you don't even know you have them until it's too late. Like, they say with cancer, the scary thing about cancer is that with cancer, most cancers, not all cancers, but with most cancers, physical symptoms don't start occurring until you're at least in stage 3. The problem with that is most stage 3 cancers are extremely difficult to treat. And with stage 4 cancers, you're good as dead. Okay? Most stage 1 and stage 2 cancers are almost completely treatable. But anybody who's had cancer, or anybody who knows anybody who's had cancer, knows that in most cases, people with stage 1 and stage 2 cancer do not get symptoms. Okay? When you experience symptoms, that's your body's way of either fighting disease or letting you know, hey, knock, knock, something's wrong back here. You need to come back here and help me out with this. Something's wrong. Okay? And so, you have cancer. Cancer, it don't show up until stage 3. At which point, in most cases, you only have a 40 to 60% chance of survival. Okay? And so what I'm saying is, of course, we don't know what is going on with Mr. David Carroll. we could be grabbing at straws. But what I will say is, knowing that the categories that he is in, I got to stop that talking about him in the past tense. Y'all, I apologize. I'm just a naturally pessimistic person. I don't mean to do that. I'm sorry. But knowing that the categories that he's in, a black man who appears to be in his early to mid 50s, it might be mid to late 40s, but I don't even think that would matter that much. But I think I know, the age group of most people. I'm usually not too far off the mark with that. He looks to be in his early to mid 50s. Okay, early to mid 50s, overweight, doesn't exercise, smokes, a black male. The possibilities as far as the health aspect are concerned, the possibilities are endless. They're endless. That's what I was telling people about all this nonsense about a COVID-19 being a pandemic. I believe a few years ago, not a few years ago, a few months ago, I released a community post where I said that, you want a fucking pandemic? Heart disease alone kills 1,700 Americans a day. And that doesn't even include all the other heart related stuff like high blood pressure, stroke, heart attack, cardiac arrest. What's that? Yeah, I said cardiovascular disease. That kills 1,700 people every day. If you slap cancer onto that, cancer and heart problems together kill well over 3,000 people every day. Okay? That's just how real it is. Most of us will likely die either by cancer or by some type of heart-related illness. Okay? That's a fact, not an opinion. And unfortunately, I'm not saying that has anything to do with this, but unfortunately, Mr. Carroll does fall into the two categories of being a candidate for both of those. A lot of people do, but he certainly does. His age, his ethnicity, his weight, his habits. It is what it is. Now, the other thing that a lot of people were bringing up was, and a cough can be from anything. I cough. You probably heard me cough in this video, but I know what causes that. It's my acid reflux. Okay. I have really bad acid reflux, and I also have what's called a stress cough. And so you will often hear me because the muscles are tightening around my neck area, or because my esophagus acid from my stomach is going into my esophagus, you'll constantly hear me cough or wheeze, or I also have sinus problems, so that also causes me to make strange noises like that when I'm trying to blow shit out of my nose. I know what that is, but a cough can be a symptom of anything. Okay, a lot of people were mentioning the possibility of him possibly contracting COVID-19 because of the coughing that he was doing. He said that he felt like he was coming down with a cold in his last video, and like I said before, he had actually been coughing for a couple of days. That wasn't the first time that he had actually started coughing. He had been coughing, for a couple of videos. Okay? He had been coughing the week before his last video on November 20th. So he was coming down with something, and he confirmed that. And as you know, all of us have been sick before. I haven't been sick in a while, but you can always tell when you're coming down with something. Your body lets you know with, the symptoms. Sometimes you just feel wrong. You just feel weird. We've all been there. So he knew he was coming down with something. Now, could it be COVID-19? Yeah, it could be COVID-19, but it could also be a really bad flu. For those of you who don't remember, back in 2017, 2018, I believe, that flu season was an especially hard flu season. Well before COVID-19 came on the scene, that flu season, like 3 times the amount of people died as would normally die in a flu season, or got really sick that they had to go into the hospital. Don't get it twisted. The flu, influenza, which I believe is it does come from the family of coronaviruses. What we call the flu is, like the chicken pox, a very serious disease. You know how when you were a little kid, they used to act like chicken pox is not a serious disease? Chicken pox is a very dangerous disease. It's just that our immune system can handle it. Usually, like the flu, chicken pox, our immune system can handle it on its own, usually. That don't mean that with a weakened immune system, or with some pre-existing medical condition, or with, you just being one of the unlucky motherfuckers whose immune system was taking a nap when it came in, it can't fuck you up. Okay? Chicken pox and the flu are very dangerous diseases. Okay? The germs that cause acne on your skin, those are very, very dangerous germs. Okay? It's just that your immune system can police them on your skin and keep them out of your insides. Your immune system can handle that. You understand, if you didn't have an immune system, most of us would not make it past birth. That's just how dangerous this world is. Okay? So, could it be COVID-19? Yeah. I even said myself, do I believe that COVID-19 is a pandemic? Fuck no. Do I believe COVID-19 is a real dangerous germ? Yes. Am I worried about COVID-19? No more than I'm worried about anything else, like MRSA, which my skin is colonized with, or any of a number of different diseases, bacterial, fungal, viral, parasitic, or anything else that can fuck you up. Okay? I told y'all about the brain-eating amoeba. That little motherfucker get a hold of you, it's over. Okay? So he could have, it's possible that I think, assuming that his absence is because of what he felt was a cold, I think we can all assume safely that it was more than just a cold. It could be something as simple as bacterial pneumonia that's non-COVID related. Okay? Any of a number of things, especially at that age with, all the other factors. I mean, it could be any of a number of things. Okay? But, the speculation can go on and on and on. It is possible that he caught something that, made him really ill. Who knows? The other less likely possibility, but it is a possibility, is, and I think I should have mentioned this in the beginning. We know from the things that, we don't know, but there's strong indicators that Mr. Carroll, he lives in the Cleveland, Ohio area, and he, frequents, the cigar shops around the Cleveland area. And I don't know if he lives in, but he has made a mention of a lot of the Pookie savages that, he constantly sees when he's out and about doing his rabbit hole videos. And he says how sometimes they approach him or walk past him. I think I even heard him saying a couple of times, like, "What's up, man?" to a couple of them. I don't know much about Cleveland. Somebody from Cleveland can school me on that, but I do know that Cleveland Cleveland can be as dangerous of a city with high crime and savagery as anywhere else. I know their homicide rate and their violent crime rate has gone up just like everywhere else in this COVID scamdemic area. Okay? And the spooky savages there are, I'm sure, no less, of a threat to your personal health and well-being as they are in my home city of Chicago Indianapolis, St. Louis, New Orleans, Houston, Dallas, LA, New York, or anywhere else. I'm sure of it. Okay? Now, you know, I think it would be, I think that's an unlikely scenario, but he has indicated on several occasions that he's been out and about and in close contact with these, what we call the Pookie and Ray Ray, with these savages. You heard him even, saying like, "What's up, man," to a couple of them. You know, being an older black man, I don't know if he's never indicated whether he has a concealed carry license. He's never indicated whether he carries a weapon. I don't know if he does or he doesn't. I don't know, his history, if he can even own a firearm. None of us know that. Okay. But I will say this: I would not be out in any park, in any major city, Cleveland included, without some way to defend myself and protect myself. Okay? Because anything can happen and will happen in the blink of a motherfucking eye. Okay? We've heard the stories time in and time out. Listen, just some of y'all heard about it. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was a Hispanic man. I literally drove past his house when I was up in Chicago just a couple of weeks ago. There was a Hispanic man that was up on his roof on a ladder putting Christmas lights up. He climbed down off the ladder to pick up some more Christmas lights, just decorating his house. Some motherfuckers pulled up, jumped out of a car, ran up to him and beat him in the head. Stomped and beat him to death in front of his house while his little kids and wife was in the house. Got back in the car and drove off. And neighbors said, he was an older gentleman, I think in his 60s. They said he wasn't the type of person that trouble attracted. It's just some random dude. Likely some of them stupid ass niggas in Chicago that just decided to attack a random person. There was a Chinese dude in Chinatown in Chicago that was literally just walking down a sidewalk, minding his own fucking business. Some nigga just jumped out and just shot the shit out of him for no reason. So, I think that's unlikely, but, it is a possibility that, you have to be aware of your surroundings and you have to be ready for anything. Bruh. I mean, I'm sure anybody from Cleveland will tell me, because, niggas love to talk about they city. Like they city is the baddest city on earth. When the truth of the matter is, they city is really just a repeat of all the shit that happens in every other city all around the fucking country. Because, all of these niggas are being bred and nurtured the same way, subject for another video. But, that's something that we have to take into consideration as well. I think the most unlikely scenario is that Mr. Carroll may have done something to get himself locked up or arrested, or that he had a family emergency, because according to him, he don't really fuck with his family that much. And, he comes off to me as kind of like myself. He's an introvert. He keeps to himself. We go out. People think that introverts, we just stay in a necrophilic dungeon and just to ourselves and stuff like that. No. We go out. We do stuff. We just don't fuck with other people. We don't converse. We don't go out to bars. We don't go to clubs. Every Saturday or Friday night, we're not calling, our friend like, hey, want to go out, do this, go out, do that. When I go to movies, I go in the daytime when hardly nobody's at the theater, and I go by myself. When I got to go shopping, I jump in one of my vehicles and, I drive, do my shopping, do what I got to do. If I got to pay bills, I do that, and I come home. Okay? That's what an introvert is. We like that young yellow-bone hood rat chick that tried to start up a conversation. Well, we did have a little conversation, and she tried to give me her number, talking about she do hair. Like, I wasn't interested because I knew, the hell behind that. I thought, Thought crossed my mind maybe I could get some pussy, but right behind that, Marlboro man came in to save the day. Nope. Nope. I could see the ratchetness written all over that bitch. Nope. Gotta go. Not interested. Sorry. You can keep your tainted pussy to yourself. Anyway, subject for another video. This is YouTube. But I think it's unlikely, because he really kept to himself. And so I don't see him doing something where he got into a confrontation with somebody, where he may have gotten locked up, But then again, David Carroll also seemed to be kind of a no-nonsense type of dude. Maybe one of them niggas did try him, and maybe he did have a piece on him and shot one of the motherfuckers. Maybe his gun wasn't registered and police arrested him, and now the brother, maybe he need a GoFundMe, need us to help him bail him out. I don't know. Again, speculation. I mean, it could go a million different ways. I'm just, because people ask me to look into this, and there's some further looking into I could do. I'm gonna hold off on that for now, and I might let another month or 2 weeks go past before I do that. Maybe he'll show back up. Maybe he'll show up. Maybe, he was just really sick. But I do want to say this. I'm going to close with these two things. Number one, the thing about maybe he just, he's really sick and he's just out of it right now. And I think people in the medical field will agree with me with this. You can be incapacitated, like, for example, in a drug-induced coma or something for, months, sometimes even years. There was a cop that got shot. I think he got the Guinness Book of World Records. He was shot back in like the mid 1980s in a confrontation with an armed robber, and he came out of his coma like it was like 24 years later, some crazy shit. But this is the thing. If you're so incapacitated that you can't contact family, friends, think of all the high profile missing persons cases where the person is disappeared for a long ass time. And I'm not saying that David Carroll's been gone for a long time. We don't know what's going on in reality. We don't know if his family knows anything or what. But all of the cases, high profile cases where the person was disappeared for a long fucking time, how many of those people were found okay? I mean, there was Amy Elizabeth Smart, and who? No, Elizabeth Smart and who? Like they either find the person years or months later dead, or, they never find them. I mean, it hasn't been a long time. It's only been a month. Okay. And it wouldn't be an issue if he wasn't, according to his own saying, repetition being the mother of skill. Him being so consistent in practicing his belief that repetition is the mother of skill. Every week, preferably every Saturday, after I watch my football game or before I watch my football game, I'm going to, school these niggas on X, Y, and Z. And then a couple of days later, I'm going to release a rabbit hole on BitChute and FS Avenger. And then I'm going to do whatever else I'm going to do throughout the week. If he wasn't so consistent with that, I don't think there would be a lot of cause for concern. But, all we can really say at this point is that we hope that he's okay. Anybody that has any information, please feel free to share it if it's okay with him to share it. The last thing I'm going to say directly about this is that with Mr. Carroll, I thought about one of the downsides. The only downside that I can really see to being a hashtag Marlboro man or living that lifestyle, being an introvert where I just keep to myself. And forgive me for laughing about this, but it's kind of funny to me when I think about it. I said, well, what if you're sitting at home one day and you choke on some food, or you have a medical emergency like a heart attack or a stroke, or you trip and fall and break your shit? Like, damn, bro, you're going to be in this big ass office by yourself. Nobody can hear your screams. Nobody can hear your yells. What if you can't get to your phone? What if you're unconscious? Like, damn, bro. But I mean, your rent is paid up for the next 6 months. Like, so, the landlord wouldn't even come check on your ass. Like, they ain't gonna even find your dead body until the maggots are done, till, fucking, you ain't nothing but bones. I can't even say skin and bones. You ain't nothing but bones. Well, I guess my mom, my parents, they would call my cell phone and they would be concerned. But the problem is, nobody knows where I live. There's a lot of dumb niggas like Struggle Dusty in Indianapolis. They think they look up some court records and they thought they knew where I live, but nobody knows where I live. So, I mean, ugh, like, damn. I mean, even if my parents, they will file, if I don't return their calls past a certain point, they will file a missing persons report. I guess the police could ping my phone, maybe. But like, they would have to, and most police agencies ain't gonna do that. They would have to do some real investigating to find out like where I am. Cause by the time anybody knows that I'm missing, my phone battery would likely be dead. I don't know. Somebody who knows more about that. Have there been cases where police pinged a phone's last known location, even though the phone was off? I think or does the phone have to be on for them to access the GPS system? I don't know. My point is this: the only one of the few downsides that I see to living a life, where you're just kind of off in the cut to yourself, especially if you live out like in the countryside, is, and there was a woman like this not too many years ago. I think it was a white woman. I forget what state. There was a story where her house was being foreclosed on because her bills hadn't been paid in years. No, I think it was like 2 years. And the sheriff finally came to, serve the eviction. They opened up her garage, got a foul stench, and found her dead. Like rotten, like damn near skull and bones, dead in the front seat of her car in the garage. And she had been dead for so long, they couldn't even determine her cause of death. Whether it was suicide, whether it was natural causes, whether it was nefarious or what. But it looked like she just got in her car, getting ready to go somewhere or coming from somewhere, and just died. And what had happened was, she had all of her bills set to auto pay. This is fun. It's not funny, but it is funny. She had all her bills set to auto pay, nigga. And they had been paying, she was, I think, like a retired school teacher, or not, she was in the school district, and she had like a lot of money through investments, and her auto pay had been paying her bills for like several years. But then all of a sudden, her accounts just ran dry. And that's the only time that people even noticed that like something was wrong. Like, I guess she didn't have no family or nothing. Nobody, like, she was really an isolated person, or maybe all her family died. I don't quite remember what it was, but like, nobody really knew, that this poor woman was dead or in trouble for years after she died. And found her, she had been sitting dead as a corpse in her garage, mummified, all that fucking time. So, I did kind of think about that. The problem with, being like myself or David Carroll, I don't know a crazy situation, so I'm not going to speak on it. But the problem with being like us is, say something did happen to Mr. Carroll while he was in his place. I don't know whether he lives in an apartment or a house. I'm assuming it's an apartment. But if that did happen, like, and all of a sudden, like, you fell unconscious because of like a heart attack or something, like, and you don't fuck with your family, like, especially, it's even worse if you're in a house. Because, see, in an apartment, like, people will start smelling a stench. You know, sometimes you have friendly neighbors that check up on you. I used to have a neighbor like that. Really nice guy. But, like, if you're in a house, bro, like, if you got a house, like, damn, bro, like, that's just fucked up. Because, and your bills paid up. If you wanted people to pay several months or years ahead, like I do, like, damn, bro, like, they ain't gonna find your dead ass for a minute. There was I hate to keep using examples, but you can look it up. There was this chick in New York. She got killed by her boyfriend, and then her boyfriend shot himself. The motherfucking God, this makes my skin crawl. The neighbor downstairs below her apartment, they reported to the landlord that maggots were dropping out the ceiling, bro. No, Lord, no. And so the landlord went up to knock on the door and noticed a strong stench coming from the door. So he didn't even open the door. He said, fuck that. I already know somebody dead in there. Because the landlord knew, that she had been having like troubles. This was one of them black hood chicks. So he just called police. Police went in there and found, her bullet riddled body and the boyfriend dead, and maggots crawling all over him and all that shit. But that's if you're in an apartment setting. Somebody's gonna smell something. Even with Jeffrey Dahmer, tenants have been complaining to the property manager about foul smells coming from Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment for years. But the property manager never followed up on it because Jeffrey Dahmer was one of the motherfuckers that paid his rent ahead of time. And so, with most landlords, especially slum landlords, as long as they get money, they ain't gonna say nothing. They don't care if they see you dragging a body bag in that motherfucker. But, that's if you're in an apartment setting, though, yo. Like, if you're in a house setting, and I don't think he was, but if you're in a house setting, like, damn, bro, like, I thought about that, like, man, especially with you not revealing your whereabouts or where you live, like, bruh, like, you just well, I guess it won't matter because you probably would have died anyway. I don't know. But anyway, I'm not indicating anything. I'm just, just talking shit, but yeah, man, hope he's okay. I mean, that's all what else can I say? What else can I do? Like, hope he's okay, but that brings me into the second portion of this video, which is that life as we know it is short and unpredictable. People have survived and gone through unbelievable hardships and incredibly physically and mentally traumatic things. But then on the flip side of that, you have people like Dale Earnhardt that just tapped their race car bumper on a wall at 150 miles an hour, snapped their neck, and like unplugging a fucking plug from an outlet, zippo, they're out of here. They're gone. And I've brought this up before, that a lot of the times we waste time doing and worrying about shit in life that doesn't matter. And I think a lot of that is because we assume that we have so much more time to waste, or time to do the things that we want to do in life. Okay? And while I myself, being a student of death, as I call myself, I think about this stuff constantly, and I've become somewhat of an expert on this theology. But at the same time, I even realized with myself that I could do more. However, what I have done in recent years is I have made it my business to assure that every day, every day that I wake up, I make sure that I complete a list of things that both needs and wants. I make every day count. It can be something as menial as taking the garbage out, or something as high as, I don't know, going to Las Vegas. Whatever it is, I make sure I have a list of tasks, and I do everything in my power. I don't always succeed, but I try to do everything in my power to make sure that I get as close to completing that daily list of things as possible. And that's after I complete what I call my daily routine. My daily routine are things that I do every day, like paying monthly bills, only it's daily. Exercise, drink a bottle of water, eat food that's high in fiber. Um, I have a series of things that I do, and then I go to the specific tasks for that day. Okay, it helps, regulate my days, and it helps me feel like I'm in control of my time. Because looking at the news, and even things that I've gone through with, and knowing that I'm getting older, and seeing, they say I'm 36 years old now. I'm at that age where they say, people, you start going to a lot more funerals than when you were a kid. I mean, just within the last few years, I lost, my aunt, my grandmother, and this is just outside of celebrity deaths. There have been some neighbors that I know have passed away. Well, former neighbors, people I used to go to school with. So, we're around death like we're around life all the time. Okay? A lot of us choose to ignore this fact, but whether you choose to ignore it or not, it is indeed a fact. Okay? Now, again, I'm not saying what happened or is happening with Mr. Carroll. I'm just going to say, because I'm a pessimistic person, and also because, I use, logic. I look at the few facts that we do know. I'm hoping I'm wrong, and maybe I am. I want to be wrong this time. I want to be wrong, but I'll just say this: whether he's really ill or whatever, I don't have a good feeling about this. That's just me. I'm just gonna leave that at that. Okay. But I will say that the realization of how short life is was hammered home to me a few months ago, back in the summertime, when I learned of the death of this pro-feminist female blogger. Some of you may have heard of her. She co-starred on the Grapevine. She was one of their panelists. She was also a blogger on Zora.com. She was one of those, strong, independent, most educated type chicks called Aisha Faines. Aisha K. Faines, to be exact, I believe. And according to family and friends and people who knew her, she went into anaphylactic shock in late June of this year, and she was taken to the hospital, and she died a few days later. even though me and her were completely on opposite sides of the, you know, socio-political spectrum and the, just the ideological spectrum, her sudden death struck home with me because she was at the time she was the exact same age as myself. She was 35 years old, and her birthday, which I believe was in July, was only a few days from mine. Now, from what I understand, she had food allergies, but she also was one of those Negroes who believed in what the powers that be are telling people, and she got fully vaccinated back in, I think, April, and she put it out on social media. She had a pretty large following on Instagram. She put it out there that she had been fully vaccinated, and she encouraged other black people to get vaccinated. And we know with these shots, there have been some people who have been getting really sick. Some people have been having allergic reactions. I'm not saying that's what happened in her case, but she got fully vaccinated a couple of months before she went into anaphylactic shock. They did the interesting thing, and the reason why a lot of rumors were swirling around about, possibly her dying from the vaccination was because they never did, to my knowledge, pin down what caused her anaphylactic shock, which is, from my understanding, a severe allergic reaction. Okay? Which can get pretty intense, kind of like a cytokine storm, for those of you who know what that is biologically. But nonetheless, no matter how she died, she fell ill suddenly. And I mean, like, again, y'all know what I think about these black females, but, I have to admit, she was young. She was very, very beautiful, dark-skinned chick. I mean, she really, to me, she looked like a little black Barbie doll, and she was full of life, energetic. And her last video, she was, schooling black women on, whatever they was talking about, woman empowerment, all that shit. And then literally a couple of days later, I mean, like, it fucks with me, like, when I see, like, a person that was just as full of life as I am right now speaking to you, and then, like, the next moment, like, they're just fucking gone. Like, a couple of days after she made that last Instagram, I'm assuming Instagram live video, like, she probably didn't know that anything was wrong. And it may not have been anything wrong until up to the very moment. Maybe she did go around, something. But, the thing that made it really odd was they said that she was very aware of her food allergies. And she knew to stay away from around certain environments and certain dishes, that might trigger something. So, I mean, the eyebrow does raise as to where the allergic reaction came from. But regardless, like, one moment she was there, and the next moment, like, she was fucking gone. And so, as I've matured, I've come to learn that even situations and people that I don't like or that I disagree with, in some scenarios, not most scenarios, but in some scenarios, there are things that I can learn from them. And I think I already knew it, but one of the things that kind of hit home with me with this beautiful young lady was that, like, damn, like, that could happen to any one of us. Like, nobody knows, like, there's like a million things, outside of just how dangerous this world is anyway, with all these Pookies and Ray Rays, maniac white guys, fucking terrorist sympathizers and all this shit, just your regular standard issue fucking criminal savage going around robbing and carjacking people, natural disasters like, the tornadoes that ripped through Kentucky. Outside of, getting in your car, commuting to and from work and school, 50,000 people a year dying in car accidents, 500,000 more getting wrecked for life. Just outside of the regular, everyday, run-of-the-mill shit of how dangerous this world is. There's like a million different things happening inside of our tiny little bodies every single day, okay? Your heart, I forget how many times it beats, but I think it beats, what is it like? Somebody help me out. I don't feel like looking it up. I know it's several million. I don't think it's a billion, but it's like several tens of millions of times your heart will beat if you live the average life expectancy. Any one of those beats, something can go wrong. Something can get clogged in your artery. Anything can go wrong, bro. Like, there's blood flowing through your head, through your brain, in these tiny little vessels at the speed of light or faster. Any one of them little vessels, something can go wrong and they rupture. Like we really don't fucking know how fragile fucking life is, man. We don't appreciate it, and I think a lot of that is not because of arrogance. It's just because it's kind of scary to think about. But I think the most important point is that it's important to understand and accept these things for what they are and to do your very best to live life accordingly, because you really don't ever really know what might happen. You don't. But, just life in general, how short, how unpredictable, and really how fragile it is. You just, really, man, you just never know. You never know. And so, yeah, man, take care of yourself as best you can. Be aware of your surroundings. Have a way to defend and protect yourself at all times. Try to, if you're going to get habits, I remember a doctor used to tell me this all the time. Try to get good habits, because too many people have bad habits. If you're going to form a habit, make it a good habit, okay? So it can benefit you or have the possibility of benefiting you and not detrimenting you in the end. Thank you so much for listening, and be safe out there, and talk to you later, guys.